this virus. Next slide, please. This is slide number 9. So, we have things that we call think about, which means think about it. Think about number 1 in this presentation is think about for you, because I'm here in LA, and LA has the entertainment industry. California has the, farming economy. So how is the job market changing for you locally? The old economy is changing to the new economy. President Trump, I want to leave politics out of this. I'm neutral on politics when we're talking about education. But President Trump was promoting coal for some time, and I just don't see it as that's the old economy. I don't see it as the future for a lot of people. We want to. I believe that we want to focus on the new economy. And software eats everything. If you look around the world right now, what companies are doing really well at software? So I believe that we really don't want to turn inward. America. There's competition across cities, regions, and countries. And if America produces, an environment that companies and organizations don't like, they'll leave. They'll go somewhere else. They'll go to another country. So the second think about is what are school requirements for STEM and STEAM knowledge where you are? There's a real patchwork. We'll talk about this in a second. But I just want to plant a seed, raise the question here. And the third one is, are there any certificates that can get someone a job without a college degree? Because we have record unemployment and the benefits are about to run out. Is there anything that people can get that will help them get a job now? I'm so proud that I worked on A+, way back when. A+, if you're not familiar, is CompTIA, Computer Technology Industry Association. It's their tech certificate. If you're going to be a tech worker at a major corporation, IBM needs a tech guy. If you have A+ certificate, you study for 2 to 3 months, take the test, get the certificate, then you can get a $50,000 a year job without a college degree. Some other ones are AWS, which is Amazon Web Services, Google certifications, which the latest data came out like yesterday, and Google certifications are up. The study program, which Google, by the way, has authored itself. Google employees have authored their own certificate because so many people need it. It's up 500% in June on Coursera, which is an online training platform. Python, Python software programming is another big one. Right, let's go to the next one, slide 10. It has pictures of computers on tables. It says changes in tech training. These are some pictures that I took of the different training centers, the software training centers that I opened and managed in Asia. Top left one is that's New Horizons, Alabama, in the late 90s. That is a priest blessing the computers the day before we opened the center. Lower left is the Malaysia location. They opened up 5 different centers all around Malaysia. That was pretty amazing. Malaysia is a very interesting and beautiful country. Top right is Taipei. We opened there, and the lower right is a location that I became the general manager of. That was the first New Horizons in China, in Shanghai, in 1999. I opened. It was a joint venture with Fudan University. If you're familiar with China, that's kind of a big deal. Later on, another company called Beida Qingyao copied our model and made a franchise throughout China, which became very successful. So when I say that, if you look at the computers on the table, first of all, they're CRTs, cathode ray tubes. They're not LCDs. These things used to be huge and very, very heavy, right? Now we're using LCDs. The power of that computer on one of those desks is your mobile phone is 100 times more powerful than that computer right there, and faster too. So there are huge changes in tech training. We used to bring people into computer training centers, and now almost everything is shifting to online, and it's shifting to mobile. and it's shifting to video. Next slide, slide 11. I'm watching my time here.
Got it.
And I go to 2:55, so I don't have too much time. So we're talking about the old problem still. So learning STEM, we're going to need effective curriculum. We're going to need a teacher familiar with the curriculum to deliver it to the student, guide the students, a time and place to teach it from schools to online. And now we're working with models that are synchronous or asynchronous. That's online education talk. For synchronous means at the same time everybody's online, like now in this conference. And asynchronous is it's pre-recorded. You go back to it later anytime you have time. Project-based learning is something we're going to speak about in just a moment. That's hands-on activities and level testing. You're going to need level testing and certification exams. AmSTEA is coming out with a free STEAM level test for everybody, especially for teachers. That'll be out in 1 to 2 weeks. And anybody can use it. You can check your level as a teacher. Next slide, please, slide 12. So think about it. This is our second think about it. Do you have effective STEM curriculum, and what specifically needs upgrading? It's not a bad idea every once in a while to take a piece of paper and make a list, rank and attack your problems. For example, your engineering materials are not good enough. Okay, so we're going to go to the engineering education section, right? One by one, attack the problems until the biggest ones are solved, and then you have smaller and smaller problems. Big problem for STEM and STEAM training right now is to align all the standards. We're actually trying to do this. So in general, most kids in the United States are exposed to NGSS for science, what for CS for all, or A+ for tech, right? ITEA for engineering. VAPA, Visual and Performing Arts, is another standard that California just voted on for art. Common Core for math. So we here at AmSTEA, we're really focused on 3rd to 6th grade teachers. That's where we think the biggest need is right now. So that's the problem that we're attacking. So what needs to be on STEM certificate, and how can we do project-based learning online? That is one of the biggest problems, because STEM and STEAM and the maker movement have a reputation for getting your hands dirty. But how are you going to do that if you can't be in the same room? What if it's online education? So slide 13, please, the next one. And of course, one of the biggest problems in America is access. So having all of our kids go to the school was a great leveler for the United States. Everybody had access to a similar level of material and equipment and education resources. So kids with good internet access and devices at home were okay, but they needed good content and motivation. But kids with bad access or no device have always had trouble, even if they have good content and motivation. And as we all know, kids throughout the United States do not have the same level of access. All right, next slide, please. That's slide 14, looking at the time. So that's me wearing my mask, feeling very sad when all of the stores, when all of the stores had nothing there about 2 or 3 weeks into COVID. So I've seen this movie before. I just never saw it in the United States. It's a shock. Shock to me, shock to everyone. Right? It's very, very upsetting. So next slide, please. Now come the new problem. So COVID, what happened? COVID-19 closed the school, but it was done in a rush. It really was not very efficient. The education impact was that everybody had to switch to online learning. And I can say that we weren't ready. I have a 7-year-old. You'll see him in a minute in one of the pictures. I worked with him on his schedule. I spent a couple of hours a day helping him to keep up with everything that he should do. And for myself, our association is not that big, and we were able to get out of our leap. So what about the economic impact to everybody? You can work from home if you're lucky. We were lucky. And if you couldn't work from home, or if you were working in a restaurant, a hotel, at in an airline, you got laid off. And this is a huge shock to our system, but I'm not saying anything new, right? So the next slide, please. Slide 16. Let's review the current situation, the effect on kids. There's an effect on learning. There's a social aspect of the kids not being together. Something that not many people are talking about. We want to talk about more is the effect on sports and health for kids. Getting outside and running around every day and playing sports. Another thing is the research coming out now about the effect of COVID-19 on the brain and body. Okay? Even if you get the disease and you're a kid and you don't die or you don't suffer terribly, there are still some lasting effects. And on family, every part of life was interrupted. Income went to low or no income, and also getting along with all of your family in close quarters. The next slide, please. Review of our current situation on schools. Administrators, staff, and facilities are all, many of them may be laid off. Teachers, and then are also at risk for underlying conditions. And there's older staff. So the whole STEM team education supply chain, people have not talked about this too much, but I lived and worked in China, worked with many factories over there. So I know about the design, factory, transportation, and retail supply chain, all the things we use when we use STEM and STEAM. All right, next slide, please. That's slide 18. And although it's not obvious to us now, actually Asia has much to teach us. This is the Shaolin Temple, and I went there, and I actually know some of the monks there pretty well. The next slide, please. Slide 31. Yen Tong in the middle there is actually a teacher of mine. He's one of the 325 monks who are actually monks inside the temple. And that's actually me years ago practicing martial arts. But what I wanted to say with this slide was to keep our spirit of persistence, to learn something like that. Kelly, how are we doing?
We're at time right now because they're going to start another session. So if you want to just wrap up.
Yep, wrapping up. So we have a whole bunch of new problems. I've listed a bunch of them. And that's, let's scroll through very quickly. Slide 20, slide 21, the new problems, the effect on daily life. Slide 22 says to think about three. This is what's going to go back to normal and what will not. Slide 24 is talking about your kids. And very quickly, slide 25, 26, 27, 28. The last one that I want to talk about is the one that I actually can't find, and I'm going to end with it, which is, I live in Orange County. Orange County has decided, it's about school opening. I live in Orange County. Orange County has decided to open schools with no mask requirement. LA and San Diego have decided to keep schools closed 100% online. That's next door to me. That's right down the street from me. And New York City has decided to, 3 days a week online, 2 days a week, the kids come into school. So we have 3 different models for opening schools, which is imminent. And this is going to be the biggest difficulty for our industry, I think, for the next 2 to 3 months as we manage this. And it's a big patchwork. Please take a look at my slides later. I think they'll have them up. My email is willc@amstea.org. We are at amstea.org. You can get some free stuff if you email me, say hi, and that you came from this conference. We have some products that are useful. I thank you very much for your time, and I won't go any farther. Thank you, Kelly, for allowing us to join the conversation.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Will. We appreciate it. And please, everyone, just go ahead and send Will an email, and he has some great information, and he's doing some great work. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, so we're going to go back onto the stage, and if you just go back to that first one to join, you will be able to hear Joanne Vasquez and